Hey everyone, this is Marcy with Magical Maven, and today I really felt it was necessary to really talk about our heart center, the heart chakra, and that place within us that I think for many people struggle with, to find that energy of love, to feel the energy of love, to be able to naturally express, to receive, to openly give to others. So I just wanted to really bring some good stuff into this awareness of things that you can do individually, collectively, that offer a space and place of working with this energy and organ that is so prudent to our own survival and for the survival of us as a species and for us as a universe. So the one thing I like to do is I really like to incorporate the tarot cards, because I think that in the deck of tarot there are a lot of corresponding cards that you can utilize when working on different chakra centers. So the one I'd like to bring up today is the Lover's card. And I think that what most people really fail at times to recognize is that a lot of times when this card comes up in a reading or in anything, that they automatically do not use it as an internal dialogue, but they often like to use it as an external. What relationships aren't working for them, the relationships with other people, when in truth, maybe the actual problem is the relationship that you are having, the struggle that you're having with yourself when it comes to love, connection, nurturing. So I really like to use the Lover's card when I'm working on that heart area. I think that we as people have a very nice imagination, and when we're able to visually see something, we then can begin to incorporate it into our dream state, our meditative state. And so that's why I really like using this card. If you're looking to really work on broadening your aspect of love, really opening the vessel of that heart, really being able to input and output that energy of love that can often heal so many different facets in our life and the life of others. One of the things that you can do is you can either lie down on the ground, you can sit, and just really start to begin to do some deep breaths that you're bringing that air into the center area of your abdomen, really feeling the expansion and the growth of that organ vessel that is so prudent to our survival, because without it, we cannot live. And emotionally, I feel in the absence of love, we cannot fully live to our greatest potential. And I think that a lot of people who are in the absence of love are in the aggression or in anger, in fear. And I think that often is a misdiagnosed emotion of a lack of love. That's just my own personal opinion, and based on my own personal experience with feeling a lack of love, and oftentimes it being expressed as anger or fear, judgment. So I think when really working with the card, you can oftentimes really begin to question, wonder, desire, dream. And this opens a pathway and a conversation, an internal conversation that I think is so prudent for us as individuals with ourselves to have, to be able to touch those emotions in a warm, loving, non-judgmental, safe space within yourself. And so I really, when beginning that conversation, I really like to bring the Lover's card to my breathing state. Another thing I really like to incorporate with the card are crystals. Because I am a certified crystal healer. I have loved crystals since I was a little girl. We are scientifically made up of the same ingredient of crystalline that crystals have, which is why our human species is able to resonate with that of the crystal that vibrates at a much higher level than we do. And so basically what our body does when we're working with crystals, it will want to rise. The energy will want to bring the human vibration to that of the crystal vibration, which is why I think there is an effectiveness to working with crystals. And one of the crystals I really like to work with when it comes to the aspects of our heart, our physical heart, our emotional heart, our mental heart, is the rose quartz, the malachite, and the dambarite. Malachite I really like to use when we are working on problems that we are having, when we are in a painful place of a relationship that is lacking, whether it's with us, whether it's a relationship that is painful with somebody else. I think that malachite really physically helps the physical organ, the emotional energy in that painful experience, bringing warmth and healing and a green light of rich, lush healing into that space. And so that's why I really like working with malachite. Even if you were to place it on your heart chakra, your heart center, and begin to imagine those circles that are on the malachite, cultivating a flow of action. And in that meditation, in that dream state, you can put into it whatever you want to inspire, to grow, to encourage, to nourish. You know, these are just all thoughts and figures in your own head that you can use in order to begin to heal all those facets. It doesn't happen overnight. It is a journey. It's not a one-time thing. This is a commitment that you need to make to begin to shift and change. So anyone looking for a quick fix, this is not your quick fix. Any true healing, real healing, where you have to go into the utmost darker aspects of yourself, is not easy. It's very painful. It brings up a lot of things that we don't necessarily want to deal with, but those are the things that are holding us back, keeping us in that fear, in that anger that need to be dealt with. And I think that malachite is really, really wonderful when working on that energy. Rose quartz. Rose quartz is a beautiful energy when you want to establish that love, when you want to encourage, when you want to expand it, when you want to grow it to others. I personally used rose quartz when I was in a predicament with my youngest daughter who I had a disconnection with. She moved out of our home. She went to live with her father. It was very ugly, very nasty. There was a lot of hurt feelings. And as I said before, hurt often gets identified in anger. And this definitely was just a vicious, ugly place. And because she was not physically with me and there was nothing that I could say or do to, at that point, encourage anything, I would put rose quartz and selenite around all the family pictures I had in the house to energetically shift that love in the picture, to help bridge back a road so eventually we could walk back to each other. Eventually we could find that space that collectively we shared in the vision of love instead of the unhealed emotions of pain and hurt. And so that's what I did. That's just one of the things I did. So many things that you can do with rose quartz is, again, you can put it on your heart. You can hold any of these in your hand and just really feel the energy. Feel that love. Feel that connection. Feel the bliss of it. You know, put yourself in that place that already exists in your mind, in your heart, in your soul, in your dreams. You know, to think about it from an objective point of view, that it doesn't exist, that you want it to exist. Already create that it does, and then put yourself in that heart space. And I think that rose quartz really, there's something just very beautiful. There's something very raw about it. It's very forgiving. It's extremely compassionate. Same with dambarite. Dambarite, I feel, is very much a connection to all three of them, to the divine, to the spiritual, to the mental, to the emotional aspects of the heart. But again, this is another. I really like working with Dambarite. It's a stone that when I'm working on my heart, when I'm working on my emotional feelings, when I'm working on the things that are all about how I feel, how I internalize, how I output, Dambarite is a really good source for me because it is so unconditionally forgiving. And I think that a lot of people harbor so much resentment, whether it's to themselves or to other people, and I think that that really only breeds more fear and more anger and more unhealed traumatic pain than the unnecessarily the original act. And so I think that Dambarite is really beautiful when wanting to connect with a source, with wanting to connect with that divine, when wanting to connect with that place within yourself that really needs to be cleansed and purified and reformulated. I think that as human beings, this idea of love sometimes gets so lost in translation of the media, of the books, of these story tales. And I think the beautiful thing about love is that you can create it to be anything that you wish it to become. And I think that Dambarite is really, really wonderful when doing that dream work. So again, with the Lover's card, you can use all of these crystals depending on what kind of love aspect you want it to affect, to attract, to bring forth, to put out. There's so many pathways, there's so many avenues when it comes to working with our heart. There's so many things that we can do in order to cultivate a warm, loving heart. I think for a lot of us, we put so much expectation on somebody else, on other people, on society, on religious doctrines in order to stimulate that energy, that vibration for us, when we truly hold the key to activating all of that within us. And the one thing that I personally learned through my healing journey is that you really have to work on repairing the heart trauma within yourself. And you need a really good healer, counselor, practitioner, therapist, doctor, however that looks to you, that really takes you to a space and holds space for you to look at it, to evaluate it, to touch it, to dissect it, and to heal it in the avenue to which it needs to begin to exist from there on out. And I think that all those things are crucial, especially with what's happening in our world and everything that goes on. I think that we walk around with so much unhealed trauma and anger and vulgarity and resistance that I think that it's time as a collective and as a human being to your own self to really take a look in the mirror, to really take a look and see how you view yourself. Life projects, and sometimes being so unhealed, what you see externally is the projection of what is going on internally, and that sometimes is a really difficult pill to swallow. So I think right now we really need to work on ourselves before we can begin to work on anything else. And I've committed to working on myself. I've committed to working on myself so I can bring forth forgiveness to others that haven't asked for forgiveness, but that's the energetic pathway. To talk to my children about the things that I've done that I am not proud of, out of my own unhealed pain and my own trauma, to talk to them about it and to bring awareness and a light as to the behavior that needed to be corrected and to be apologized from. And I think that when we are unhealed, we can't expect others to operate in that same aspect of healing. And therefore it begins to build walls, and those walls keep others out, and more importantly, they keep us out of it. So I could go on and on about this, but I'm going to stop there. And so I hope that this video finds you with really wanting to touch those emotions, to really look at yourself. What do you bring collectively to the table when it comes to our heart center, our heart chakra? Where are you in all of this? What's your participation? What's your input? What's your output? Where do you stand when it comes to your heart? If you are hiding behind your heart, then you again are a part of this whole collective problem, because when you hide behind the wall, you are not fully unconditionally exposed, vulnerable to the healing. So I think it's really, really, really prudent in today's society, in this everyday life, to really begin to look at that conviction. And so I really like using crystals because they offer just a sense of comfort, joy, and peace and equilibrium. And I really love working with the tarot when it comes to the chakras, because I can incorporate this picturesque, beautiful picture of warmth and dedication and love and the vulnerability that comes with it into my heart center. So these are just a few of the tips that you can use. Again, I hope that this video finds with inspiration, with love, with joy, with opening dialogue for yourself to have. In healing, it's not about other people in the beginning. It's really just about you and yourself and the dialogue that you're having with your heart. And I hope that this inspires. So you can find me on all my social media. And if you have any comments or questions, I would love to talk about this, about the tarot, about crystals, about healing. If there's any questions that you have in regard to my own personal journey, I am very much an open book that you can talk to me about your own feelings, experiences, hesitations, and that's it. I have created a line of healing necklaces and bracelets that can help support doing this really important work. You can find it at my shop online at magicalmaven.myshopify.com. And I truly just wish you all the ability, the courage, the vitality of wanting to live a beautiful life, to do some really deep healing work that needs to be done, so we can begin to move past all of these limiting beliefs and ideas and pain and hurt when it comes to working with our hearts. So I thank you, and I hope this video was a true encouragement for you to do your own work.